be a very big one for Lafayette, but it'd still be important to us.
Well, and I think the argument has been that, like 60 new jobs for Carroll County grows our employment by 1%. I may have said this already, but I say this all the time. And that's the equivalent to nearly 1,600 jobs in Lafayette. So they'll get off the couch for 1,600 jobs. Like they'll fly them in on a helicopter. For the same economic impact is 60 to 70 jobs for us, and we'll get out of bed for 60 to 70 jobs because that's a massive economic impact. So we get caught in this big number and what the number is, and we realize that our employment base is a fraction of some of those larger communities that make these large announcements. And so the last 2.5 years, that's what we've tried to do is kind of right-size our business attraction strategy instead of going after and losing to Purdue. We didn't know that, Mitch Daniels was gonna, create an economic engine out of Purdue 8 years ago. And that's kind of diminished a little bit of our capability in drawing large-scale employers. So I think we've now found the right pace for our community to attract jobs and growth that is more realistic. But we're still not stopped swinging the grand slams, but just more of a thoughtful approach to growth.
Where's this project you're talking about, housing salary building?
Not here, I know, we're putting all that land that's sold.
Burnbrae.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
It's likely that we'll be working on a Ready 2.0 project for that for housing. So, and the city is likely will do their match and take care of that on their end. So the goal would be to see if the county's got an appetite for investing in the homes in the rural areas. We just gotta bring the right projects and the right developers to the table so we can begin those negotiations. So, and we have a few that are seriously interested. It just, these funds are predicated upon them actually making the development happen.
Okay, so you need us to endorse this letter.
I'll make that motion to send it.
So interested,
Okay. So I got a motion and a second. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Motion passed.
The next steps, we'll take this to Greater Lafayette Commerce. We'll tell them that we're interested, and then we will begin negotiating the,
It's in red. What holiday are we working on?
we'll bring back the memorandum of understanding. We'll get that over to, Beth and Ted and make sure everything's square on there. So it'll look a little different than last year's MOU. So we'll actually have some voting, we'll have some power. I say power in a sense of more control over where the money's going instead of just,
At least we'll have three voices on it.
yes.
On a different note besides this, I know you and I have talked before about, for your next contract with us, grant writer. Have you got any more thoughts and ideas on that?
Yes, I don't think I've talked to every other economic development organization in the region, and I say every other, I say Warren, Benton, Fountain, and White, about like where they stand in hiring a grant writer, and I think that there's a desire for them to hire one as well. I think every rural community feels like they need one and they're losing funds. We've seen some scenarios where it didn't work in the past, where a grant writer just there wasn't enough grants. So I believe if we do it, and we can, it'd have to be the right person. I think there'd be a lot more to it than just hiring a grant writer and expecting them to be, I've had a couple commissioners even, I think it's Warren County Commissioner, indicate that they tried it or they were gonna try it and it didn't work very well. So, especially at the Economic Development Corporation, so it would depend on whether that person was working within the departments of the county and,
Cause I know a lot where people find grants. Mike's one of them, he finds a lot of grants for us. He don't always have time to write that.
yeah.
You can say, hey, this is the grant, into it and try to get it for us.
I would,
Same thing with EMS or anybody.
I would recommend that we, if we're gonna allocate funds for the new contract for the EDC, that they allocate funds to, subcontract that instead of hiring someone. So just a lot of costs sunk into, all the other things, and most of the folks that are really good at those, don't wanna be your employee anyways, they're likely working.
They're not gonna make the money.
So my recommendation would be, and we can bring you a proposal of what we think we could bring a grant writer on for as a 1099, and then allow that person in the description to be able to work with the agencies throughout the county, so that EMS or EMA would pick up the phone, call them, and they'd work for them. But we would kind of control that basis of scope
And
of
everybody who
engagement.
contributes to your
Right.
foundation can pay a little portion of that for Camden, Delphi, Flora, or whoever, you know, where you get some of your funding from, they can help pay for that through the money we give.
I'd have to think about, if Flora or Delphi doesn't want one, then it's likely they wouldn't pay. So, yeah, I think we could bring it up to say that we're gonna have a grant writer available for countywide initiatives, but, Delphi and Flora, they have access to CURBC, which is the planning commission, and they do, and you guys as well, so they would cover down on some of the areas that I think CURBC could probably be more engaged in. I mean, we found a $6,000 grant, not to digress, but, and I called them and said, we'd like to go after this grant, I just don't have time to write it, I don't, as the EDC, it was a child care grant that we got from Duke Energy, and, they wrote it and took 3%, and we were done. And so I think that we could utilize someone like that, that would just be kind of a pay-to-play, they don't get paid unless we get paid, instead of someone just sitting on payroll and kind of being part of an agency, so, and then that way, if it doesn't work, Mr. Pearson, we can just cut ties and, you know, if your agency or departments are calling at the highway garage or whoever and says, hey, they're just not doing their job, then we can cut ties and not worry about employment or anything like that, so.
I think we're missing a lot of money for this county by not having somebody we can go to do the homework, so we can free up our people to do their regular job.
I agree. So what I'll do is when I come forward for our contract, because we will be likely in 2 weeks, with that ask, is that we will include in the budget and ask a grant writer, for that.
There's other conditions too, you know, there's a lot of reporting and everything that goes through the auditor's office, which
Okay.
it's
Tedious.
very time consuming. Grant writing the auditor.
I agree. Yeah, and some of them may be federal too, I mean, who knows what we get into, and then that is in itself a larger animal. So I think if we can set the funds aside and only use them for that, and kind of let us go find the right person or the right company or someone to hire to be able to help us cover down on these grants, and pull some capacity off for our departments within the county, I think that's the win for all of us, is that our counties are able to focus on what they do best, our departments, and we have someone centralized on grants, and then especially working with the auditor's office to make sure we're,
Because I do know a lot of auditors that, I mean, I know they're a lot bigger than us, that have another employee just to do all these grants with their grant writer. And that's very, very time consuming task. And you have CURBC, and if you know that you need something, you can go to CURBC and they can do it for us.
now, another suggestion would be, and Edwin might hit me over the head with this, but is that we work on funding an extra position for them, and then they fall under CURBC. And so they're working directly for Carroll County and not just countywide, because when we call and they don't have capacity because they're working on a Monon project or another community's, this might be a way to say, you know what, we're gonna invest into, and maybe that's a contract between CURBC and us, since we're private corporations, and we could just, or you fund CURBC directly for a position. So, yeah, I don't think this is a scenario where anybody wants to take on a new employee, but, I think we would be best served if we find someone to contract with and allow them to kind of get paid to perform.
We contract with CURBC, but I don't know what all of that's involved.
And it's not an exclusive individual to write grants, and I think they've been great, don't get me wrong. So, they're far more, capable than we are on the grant side, but, they don't have someone dedicated to Carroll County, and that's what we're trying to find. I think that's what we're all trying to find, is someone dedicated to handle these. So, I'll bring a proposal, if that's welcomed, on how we can maybe solve this. And maybe bring in courtesy as well, to see how we can work together on it, or partner together for it. So, that's a good, yes, I think we give it a shot. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it's a fair investment, because we could get in a scenario where we're actually doing well and we're bringing in more money than it's costing the county, on the back end. But I think we've got to do it right the first time, and then, it gives a better chance to succeed. So,
I have approached Courtesy several times on different things, mainly for, what I've talked to them about would be for like unincorporated communities, grants for street lamps, grants for, street improvement, different things like that. And, I think we get our money worth out of Courtesy, but they didn't wanna take on anything extra like that. They said, well, we're not aware of anything like that, and, maybe if you'd bring us something, we'd look at it, but I was wanting them to tell me what grants were available, and they wanted me to tell them what grants were available. Well, it didn't ever work.
Just nail on the head. Yeah, they've just traditionally been reactionary. They've been really good at reacting. I mean, they deliver. I don't want there to be any disparagement there. They do great, and, they're a great team. It's just, I think you're exactly right.
They just don't have the manpower to explore.
To go shop grants, we have to bring them, and so if there was a dedicated, or we could carve out hours even, if there was a way that we could set up a structure where we know we're getting our hours out of them to go shop us grants, or, yeah, I think that would be beneficial. So I would probably recommend bringing them into the picture, and I likely will with a proposal, because they are the granting administrator. That's not what we do best. But it would certainly, allow us to have a finger on the pulse of how that is doing, how it is working, and, yeah, I think we need to be involved. So, that was a lot, but it's a great question.
We have these signed up here, do you wanna get them now, or do
Yes.
you wanna?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay.
Is our copy in that?
Yeah, all right.
For that?
Thanks, Jake. Thank you.
Going down to other commissioner actions or other county business, is there anything else to bring up? Does anybody out here have anything they'd like to bring up to us?
I just wanna thank all of our departments for doing their jobs and doing them well this last few months. We've got a few departments that are struggling with employees and stuff that we can't get going. Nobody wants to work, that's the big issue. And, today at 1 o'clock, and hopefully we can fix some of that. Keep our meeting with the council.
Thinking about it, I just need to say something. If you guys don't know, the new warning siren that Tippecanoe Township had installed is finally up and running, thanks to a lot of work by Mike, because of dealing with different entities to get the programming done, to get it to work the way it should. And, so just wanted to let you know it is running, and, you know, publicly say a lot of thanks to Mike, because he put a lot of time in getting the final programming that
Now,
street
this is the
down.
one up by the sunflowers, is it?
Yeah,
Yep.
yep, and it works well. The
Good.
coverage, it was supposed to be 1.3 miles for the 70 decibel range, and out where I live, I actually could hear it Saturday during the warnings out when it was going. Huh?
How How far?
Well, I live on 1150. So it's,
Quite a ways.
yeah, I mean, so Delmont Farms, that addition's getting good coverage. It was heard fairly, couple of miles south, they could hear it there. So it is, it is covering that area.
Good,
Like to hear it.
thank you.
Doug, you got something?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that I would like for everyone to keep our EMS family in Stark County in their thoughts and prayers. We had a paramedic and one was killed this weekend, and then one that was critically injured in an ambulance accident while they were responding to a call. So just wanted to, everybody keep them in our thoughts and prayers.
I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, they was responding to the ambulance rolled over and killed them.
So Doug, did you get the refit?
What county was that again? Stark County.
I saw the 91,000 in the claims, and it's like,
Yeah.
I figured that was a refit.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Now, is it out at, is it being used out here on?
Yeah.
Hey, I think the state very good for doing that. Ambulance responding. They do not move. They just like,
Yeah, it's got
They just stood there.
the auto load in it now, so they're
I think what we need to do is start looking people
So,
up on.
all three trucks are running their auto load? Yep. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
So now, that's Chevy chassis, isn't it? Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
No, they did a really nice job.
Hey, how you doing?
See how it holds up over the next couple of years.
Yeah. The other two-wheel drive we traded in.
Yep. Should be in pretty good shape.
With his 5
As long as this one holds up.
they need to get west and
Pretty happy we got it back. They said 3 months.
It's unusual. Faster than slow.
Bad for an hour, turn late. Well, I appreciate you coming in and.
Well, and just getting, you're trying to get somebody.
Engineers want my business.
Oh, yeah? You don't got no business, do you?
Right now, I mean, We're
You
doing,
ask for it out of the too.
we've allocated money for
So if he, it's both of us.
Well, that's the other thing, who hasn't sent us any bills. Yes, well,
Extend them, but we're not taking from you, but
I
that's.
think it's
Additional. That's not how it works.
and,
Yeah, I know, and she said you was
That's thinking so much. I'm surprised they put it on that little hole. But
yeah, they're,
right across
you know
the
where the
center.
sunflower field is? It's right on the west edge of that field. Federal Farms gave us the easement to put it right there, because we deal in all the people. Since the storm started, instead of being nice out, they're over. I've been tempted to send a picture to Don Pearson and ask him, let him know that that's what it's on. I don't know Yeah. I know a person that does sunflowers.
I was thinking it was like
Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of the town. It's Super Healthy Oil. They actually harvest hemp, they grow, they harvest canola, they harvest sunflowers. We're setting sweet potatoes.
I didn't know you were.
They do a cold press right there. And then the cold that they have left in the cold press, then they put it in the hog farmer that feeds the hog with it. I know Purdue did a study about allowing, the from pressing hemp. Yeah, oh yeah.
Because a buddy of mine invests a lot of money in South Dakota. And, he came back too high and he had to destroy it.
Yeah.
Had to destroy it. He's looking at $1 million for, he had like 80,000. Not looking.
Do you bridge inspections? I got a couple of minutes ago.
It's hard to find good I look at a lot of them, and it always seems to me. Relocations.
Oh. Yes.
Well, and the cost of doing an engineer.
Places that they want to hold.
Here's a, we have a national office. They know we have a network, it's almost better than getting grant funds. It's no good. They don't know.
Oh, I just did text Shrek. Yeah, well, you'll find it. Alright.
I don't know all the rules of environmental training.
The reason why I had our last conversation.
We don't need an employee. I'm not sure about having.
And I didn't know.
What county is that? Lawrence County.
Yeah, so Bedford, yeah, it's like that's, or Bedford, Indiana, I was down
Yeah. Well, they work together. They.
Like say, oh,
in. So that's big.